How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about One Piece 1066. I know I didn't talk about the last chapter because I had people down and I went to see Film Red. So that week I kind of just made a video on Film Red and left it at that because, to be honest, last chapter was fantastic. Loved a lot about it, but it's felt like a setup chapter for this chapter, which it was. You know, we got introduced to things that were further explained in this chapter, so at the end of the day, it wasn't too bad. I'm actually going to move this up a little bit. So you know what I mean? Like, this chapter was crazy, right? Better Call Saul is back in the house, you know what I'm saying? Jimmy McGill, my good man, my good man. You know what I'm saying? He switched from the law side of things, turned into an archaeologist, and is now down the route in Elbath, healing up his bandages, man. Mike got to him too fast. 1, 2, 3. Oh, dude, I'm so excited. I'm happy Saul's alive. Let's talk about that right now. I'm happy Saul's alive. Okay? Because, yeah, it's going to be good for Robin to get some, like, positive reinforcement when he sees Saul again. And Saul's like, so you found your friends, you know, you found people who care for you and truly look after you. And I'm sure I'd love to see, right? I don't know how they will do this, but I'd love to see Saul's reaction to the news at his lobby, alright? When he sees, I'm sure there's a photo of it out there in the One Piece world. Like when the Straw Hats are lined up and the I Want to Live scene, I'm sure they have that somewhere, you know what I'm saying? And I think I would love to see, like, when we get to Elbath at some point, to see, like, a flashback to that period of time. You know what I mean? That would be fantastic. I would love that with all my heart to see that, because it would push her backstory even further. Because I know a lot of people might be annoyed, you know, another death written off by Oda, right? And this is not like Pell, right? Because the significance of Saul's death was there, but it doesn't ruin the impact of the backstory, so it's completely different, right? With the thing was, right, and let's talk about this, because Robin's backstory is my favorite backstory, only behind, like, the Odin backstory, because you can't. It's even hard to compare those backstories, though, because the Odin backstory was 50 chapters, and that was like a full or sub arc of itself, like a, you know what I mean? So if we're talking about pure, like, character flashbacks that didn't turn into full on arcs, you know what I mean? Robin is definitely my favorite. You know, it's one of the scenes that made me, you know, bawl my eyes out around One Piece. That scene, I watched it in the anime. I don't know how I'd feel about it in the manga, but in the anime, bro, that scene is fire. And actually, no, I do know, because I did reread it afterwards, but it already had that emotion in me, so I don't know if it would change it for me. But in the anime, man, I was bawling when she does that speech to her mother at the end of it, and then they kill her mother, man. That was terrible shit. I loved it. Like, terrible in a good way, you know what I mean? Like, heartbreaking. And then the Saul death, like, it was, as the best way to put it is, it was great, but at the same time, all this makes sense, right? Because Aokiji didn't actually want to kill him, he just froze him in place. And then because of the fires that Sakazuki caused, you know, he's back. He got burnt out of the time capsule thing, and now he's fine. He just got a bunch of burns, right? But here's what I'm really interested in, right? Because obviously, if we go, I'm not going to show the panel, but you know the panel I'm talking about if you've read the chapter, right? There is a panel where there's giants taking up some books, yeah, right? So around here, and that helmet looks like Harajin, basically the Grand Fleet members, right? And here's what I'm really, really interested in, right? I am really interested in this. Go back and rewatch Dressrosa. In fact, I might do it for my TikTok at some point. I might go back and rewatch Dressrosa and talk about it and see if I can find that moment where Robin and where Hydrogen might, like, react to seeing Robin or something of that sort. Because I'm assuming Hydrogen knows about Saul to some degree, right? He would have had to. Maybe that's what spurred him on, sent a bit extra to go and explore the world, right? And it's interesting because, I don't know, like, part of Robin's journeys could be relayed to Saul through Hydrogen, which means we get those reactions to how she has a crew on Dressrosa, how she saved Dressrosa, you know? And it's going to be interesting to see. I do hope we get a collage of his reactions to certain events. I know we don't usually, but I think with Robin specifically, because the main focus of that backstory for Saul's character was that the main thing he sent her off was, you will find your Nakama one day, or you will find your friends one day, right? And so I think it would just hit so much harder to see his reactions. And I'm excited to see, honestly. I do want to go back and look at Dressrosa and see if there was any hints at it. I don't know if the anime would have put them in, so I'm going to have to read Dressrosa, which I haven't done. Apparently it's a better experience. I watched the anime for Dressrosa before, and I was so hyped up on One Piece, I didn't really notice the pacing issues. I was still recovering from the surgery, the other surgery I had, because I had both feet done. And the first one, I watched all of One Piece, and that was a fantastic experience. So I kind of just flew through it, you know what I mean? Dressrosa was like a 2-3 day thing for me. It wasn't that long, you know, for me anyway, because it was just, I was literally lying in bed from like hour 1 to hour 24. So I got through it real quick. Didn't really notice it, to be fair. So I'm gonna go back and read it and see what I think about it. I don't know if I'll read it physically. I have all the physical volumes there. I've got like the Dressrosa, the whole cake volumes all there. Or sorry, the Reverie volumes all there, right? But I might just read it digitally, so we'll see. Depends. I might read some volumes physically, some volumes digitally, but it doesn't really matter. But this is the thing I'm saying, right? This stuff was all talked about, all hinted at. We all theorized stuff like this about the Void Sentry and about Vegapunk's design, which I'll talk about now in a second. But I hope there's something there for Dressrosa with Hyrule and some reaction to Robin. Something small, even something minuscule that we just missed, you know, like super tiny that you'd only see in hindsight. I don't even know if they meet, but I really want to know in some regards, you know what I mean? Because it would be exciting to see. Now, he might not know anything about Saul, in which case, you know, it doesn't matter, but I just think it would be really cool. Now let's talk about Dragon. Actually, no, let's talk about Vegapunk, because I haven't talked about him a bit. Okay, obviously he's based off Einstein. I mean, to be honest, it's a really funny design. I actually really like the design, but I think Oda was smart. Okay, I think he was very smart, because it's a very Oda design in that sense. You know, like it kind of looks like Doc from Back to the Future, which is probably what he was going for. It's a real Back to the Future sort of design on steroids. But I'd love to see, though, what he does with Vegapunk now. Because he did the right thing, probably, in terms of marketing, having various different Vegapunks, right? Because Vegapunk is going to be such an important character. It was a very good idea to have, let's say, Shaka be the main Vegapunk that we see and interact with. Because he is super marketable. He's a suave, masked guy with a sick jacket, you know what I mean? He's very marketable to the people who like really cool characters, really like slick, badass characters, right? You got Yorkie for those who like, you know, more like really cool feminine designs, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. You've also got that with Vegapunk too, but you've kind of got a more sadistic side. So he's kind of pushing all the marketing gimmicks in a way, which you know, are very smart, but an in-character reason. And then he still gives that really older design for the main body, which I'm interested to be. And the fact that they're all independent of each other is interesting, because I still think Vegapunk 2 will end up backstabbing the rest of them somehow, and I wonder how it's going to be done. But it also makes me think, all right, we're going to have a misunderstanding, okay? Now, let me talk about this, because this chapter we see that Vegapunk knows Dragon, and Dragon didn't have his tattoo at that point, and Luffy was about a year out, 2 years out. I can't remember. How many years was Ohara? That was 22 years ago, so 3 or so years, right? Because, let's see, Robin is 30 now, she was 28, 30 now, okay. The Ohara incident was 28 years ago, or something like that. No, it was 20 years ago, when she was 28, pre-time skip, so it's literally, and Luffy was 17, so it would have been about 3 years out, yeah. So his birth was about 3 years out, okay? And he still didn't have the scar, which makes it very interesting. which makes me think the scar has something to do with the Void Century 100%. I know a lot of people think it's like what Luffy did at the world government, where you declared war on the government by getting that scar or something like that, right? But I actually don't think it is. I think it has to be something like, this information is so important that I need to mark it on my body, sort of deal. You know what I mean? Like the Kozuki crest for the Samurai of Wano, right? I think this stuff is going to be very interesting. But where I'm getting at here is, from Vegapunk's perspective, and everything he's seen in the news, okay? Because he's seen all the news. Does he think that Luffy is in on Dragon's plan, right? Everything Luffy's doing might be helping out Dragon in some regard. Or, you know, he might think Luffy knows more about the Void Century than he does, because he's doing stuff that will push towards what they're looking for. And he's like, he has a thing set for Luffy to do. And Luffy's like, what are you talking about? I do what I want to do. I'm just being free. You know what I mean? And I think in that regard, it's going to be very interesting, because I feel like Vegapunk will be shocked and maybe a bit annoyed, because he thought Luffy was going to be this man that was like, he was following in his dad's footsteps, or like he was intentionally, like a very meticulous man who was intentionally doing things and helping the world. And when he realizes Luffy's just having a lot of fun, man, he's just enjoying the adventure. I wonder how he's going to handle that. I think Shaka would probably know that, but I wonder if the original Vegapunk wouldn't know it at all, to be honest. Also, can we look back, right? His head is massive in this, yeah? But if we go to the final page real quick, his head is a lot smaller. So did he just replace, like, did he just give Shaka his entire brain, and now he just has a really small head? That's a very interesting thing to look at. Also, oh man. Speaking of Shaka, right? I want that helmet. I really do. But that's enough said about Shaka, right? I do think Dragon's design is really cool. I'd love to see a prequel based on Dragon or something to do with Dragon. I love the fact we're seeing more about Dragon, and him and Luffy having similar motivations, in the sense they don't like a lack of freedom, right? The only thing I thought, right, I looked at this before I saw the freedom fighter thing, right? And I thought, man, this is like a Marine jacket. You know, he might not be part of the Marines, but he has the stars, yeah? He has the stars from when he was a Marine. And so look at them, they're like Admiral stars, like, you know, when you get like promotions in the Marines and you get stars. But then if he's part of the Freedom Fighters, that's also a military organization, so that could be symbolizing his rank in the Freedom Fighters. But I don't know. I'm very interested to see. That looks like the arm bracelet he has looks like a Shambhala arm bracelet, so obviously that's going to have something to do with the Shambalans and stuff like that, which I'm very interested in. But do we think that shirt is a military shirt? Right? Do we think that he is part of the government? I think he was. I think he may have known Akainu. Or at least one of the admirals, right? He definitely knows one of the admirals. He might even know Aokiji, because we know Aokiji looked up to Garp, right? And I know we have, in episode 0, we have Aokiji talking to Garp. I don't know how new-faced he actually is. And this is a bit of conjecture. But if, let's say, Dragon knew Aokiji to some degree, right? And they were both working under Garp, or they were both idolizing Garp, and something happened to change Dragon's opinion on his dad, right? Because although he believes Garp is a man who fights for freedom, he doesn't agree with Garp just sitting there and doing nothing and refusing to help, right? Just trying to be the best Marine he can, trying to change it slowly from the inside based on like legislation and stuff, which is probably the safest way to do it. But you need a bit of, you need a firecracker up your arse sometimes, which is what I think Sword is. I do personally think Garp is head of Sword, and that's an entire other discussion. I know a lot of people said Aokiji, but I don't think so, because I feel like you'd have to be in the Marines to be part of Sword. Now, actually, Film Red brings up this interesting thing where the world government knows about Sword, in which case I don't think that works at all, to be honest, but we'll see what happens with that. Like, realistically, it would be snuffed out like that if they knew what it was. So unless Bruno, for some reason, knows about it, and Lucci's like, I won't say anything because they're good potential fighters and I want to fight them or some shit. I don't know what Lucci's all about. So maybe Bruno and Lucci know about it specifically. I have no idea. But it's interesting to see. I don't know. I do think, though, that after what happened with Dragon in the Marines, maybe Garp thought, I am fucked. What did I do? When he tries to fix it with Luffy and tries to turn him into a Marine and make him a better Marine, and maybe he was going to have him train under Aokiji, because Aokiji seemed to have the right idea. You know what I mean? To a degree, but he still had the same problem as Garp. But then when Ace died, it was the final straw. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was enough is enough, right? That was... Ace's death was Garp's Ohara instant, right? To a lesser degree, where he had to work within the Marines to solve an issue. And he's retired. He's basically an instructor now full time. So no one's paying too much attention to him. He's not being paid attention to by the Gorosei. They're not focusing on him. So him being the leader of Sword, so he can do that in his back pocket with maybe Sengoku. Maybe the war did a lot to him and maybe he's the leader. It could be one of these three individuals. 100%. The fact that Sengoku's telling the Marines about God Valley is very interesting as well. He might be trying to give Garp a little bit of help there. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's something I could definitely see. I'm excited though. I really am. This chapter was just information overload with amazing characters. So much to theorize about. It was just fantastic. And to even see the ruins of Ohara is a brilliant, brilliant story. And I do wonder, and they talk about this, right? Within a year, they formed the Revolutionary Army. Right? So to me, this kind of means for a fact that Luffy's mom can't be a Celestial Dragon, in my opinion. Because there's no way, while he was part of the Revolutionaries, he would be able to bag a Celestial Dragon. I'm sorry. Right? And I just don't think it's possible. So I'm wondering who it is. It's definitely not Bello Betty, for one thing. And I hope they don't do a One Piece thing, because Oda has said this many a times, that, he wasn't saying it in a bad way, he was just saying, for someone, a mother is the antithesis of adventure, because if you have a mother, a warm place to call home, a world like One Piece wouldn't exist, or the people in One Piece wouldn't be a thing, because they would have warm homes, they wouldn't go on that adventures, they wouldn't have a need to find an on-sea family, in a sense. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You can check the SBSs for the more legit version, but that's my point. I'm hoping he doesn't do that with Luffy, where we don't hear or see anything about Luffy's mother. Because let's be honest, if you can get Dragon under your thumb, alright, because he's a dedicated man trying to overthrow the world government and get him to give you a baby. Alright, get him to give you an L baby 3 years into a big operation. There is not a chance in hell that you're not like a top 10, top 15 person in the verse, alright? I don't care what you say. This lady's Conqueror's Hockey, Observation Hockey is through the roof. Luffy's mom is the strongest person in the verse, okay? Put it this way, right? I'm telling you right now, Luffy's mom has to be OP as fuck. I'm sorry. If she's still alive, she has to be one of the strongest characters in the entire series. That's my new agenda, alright? Because I feel like that would work out so well. She also has to be an airhead. I feel like, unless you want it to be Luffy, that's Luffy's trait entirely, that he just, his environment, he took it from Garp. It's more Garp's thing. But it's interesting to me to see, Luffy's mom has to have some importance to a degree, right? And it's actually, I'm thinking about this now because I'm reading this line right here where Vegapunk says there's good people in the Marines, right? When he's talking about why he's going to join up with the world government, And I think Dragon learns this in the next 3 years, right? He ends up dating a Marine. Imagine he ends up dating a Marine. Alright? And obviously, it could happen where it's like she died in childbirth, but I really don't hope. I really hope that's not the case, because Luffy's mother, I think, has to be another beast entirely. Okay, like, this is the mother of Monkey D. Luffy, alright? Like, this, she can't be just some Portuguese D. Rouge or like die. You know what I mean? Like, because that was Rouge's big thing. Rouge was the mother who showed her perseverance by holding her baby for 20 months and dying in childbirth because of the strain from that. But to have that be the same thing, like Luffy's mother also died from childbirth, it just would not work. Okay? So it could be she was like, imagine she was like a former admiral, right? And she got shafted by the Marines after she had a baby with Draken, right? Imagine. But they don't know, they didn't know about that until like Marineford, the vast majority of them. But the admirals did know, so maybe that could be something to think about. But it's incredible. Like the ideas this chapter presents are incredible. And I'm telling you right now, Elbaf is coming. Elbaf is coming. I'm telling you, it's so good. I'm excited. Elbaf is definitely coming. Kid is on his way to Elbaf. The man scared by flames. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about that at all. Mr. Saul Goodman is the man scared by flames. Mr. Jimmy McGill. Of course it is, because the big obvious two answers were Sabo and Aokiji. And what a better way to subvert the Aokiji prediction by having it be the man who Aokiji froze on Ohara and got the flames for Akainu. The magic combo. It would be perfect. It would be absolutely perfect. Chef's kiss, man. Beautiful, beautiful work. It really would be. I use that chef's kiss a lot, but I'm telling you, honestly, it'd be fantastic. But no, I just, what do you guys think Luffy's mom is all about? Like, I'm really interested. I can't even think of many ideas, because I hope she's not dead, but she's probably dead. I mean, it could be a Vankov. Imagine it was a Vankov. I'd actually find it quite funny if it was a Vankov's, solely because that reaction that Vankov had would be have an entire different meaning now. And Vankov says nothing to Luffy even once. You know what I mean? And hell, it could be Kuma. You know what I mean? It could be Kuma. You don't know. You know, Vegapunk has a lot of technology. I'm sure bio babies are a thing that's available. You know what I'm saying? Like gene, like male to male gene mixing or female to female gene mixing. I'm sure that works. You know what I mean? He's like, I need to create the ultimate baby for my revolution. Kuma, your race is special. Come here. He gets a little pot and he fucking runs all the DNA together and he's like, it's done, my masterpiece. You know what I mean? Oh, that'd be so funny. Actually, I know this isn't the case, but what if Dragon's a very sentimental man? And when Luffy's mom died, he got her name tattooed on him. And is there some kanji or... I don't know what that kanji means, but imagine if it has some relation to Luffy's mother, that would be very interesting. Like Luffy's mother's name was there in plain sight, or some relation to her was there in plain sight, which I'm very excited to actually see. But I don't know. And we don't actually get anything said about the oars thing in this chapter. They just kind of Vegapunk warps into this, and we have hover boots now, which is really cool. I'm really looking forward to hover boots, because imagine the fights we're gonna have on Egghead with these hover boots. I am super excited to see what goes on with this. And there's so much potential. We're going in. Elbaf is going to be such a much bigger arc than we originally anticipated. I'm telling you, it could be the starting point for the Great War. Elbaf. Also, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We are going to the moon. All right. I don't know who started this theory. I know Mord said it, but I'm pretty sure by the time Mord said it, everyone had already known that fact. Not that we were going to the moon, but the fact that was a theory out there. Oh, this cold tea. All right. So that's my point, right? I think the moon is inevitable now. We're gonna get Frankie surpassing Vegapunk and doing nearly the impossible. The One Piece is gonna be on the moon somehow, and it's gonna be like, what was the One Piece all along? It was, what was it? The U.S. flag. Yes, the U.S. has been here all along. America. No, it wouldn't happen. I would cry. I honestly be the worst at it in all of history. Imagine Enel is the one. Imagine Enel is the king of the pirates. All right, everyone's going on about Boogie, right? Boogie's gonna be the king of the world, right? Yeah, that's how it's gonna work. But Enel is gonna be the king of the pirates, and that's how I'm gonna end this off. He found the One Piece 2 years ago, fella.